You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Deku and Hero Academia Joins Power Rangers. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of CT 7567 rules on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Midoriya Apartment. Mustafa, Japan. The world that Izuku had lived in had changed for the better. After an eventful meeting with All Might, the hero he admired and wanted to be like, 10 months of hell followed Izuku, to prepare himself for inheriting All Might's quirk, One for All, the source of his power. Said hell was his training of improving his body by cleaning up the beach in Mustafa. It did come as a surprise to Izuku, especially after learning that All Might had suffered an injury from a fight with a dangerous villain 5 years ago, a fight that cost the symbol of peace his entire stomach and damaged his respiratory system, leaving a massive scar which couldn't be treated and limited the time he could work as a hero. At first, All Might told Izuku that he should give up on being a hero, since he was quirkless, but after witnessing Izuku's potential when he risked his life to save another person in trouble, All Might was convinced more than ever that Izuku was worthy of inheriting his quirk. After a long 10 months, Izuku was finally ready to inherit All Might's quirk, but it wasn't exactly the way he imagined it, nor was the news report that he saw days after Connor left to return to America that the legendary Lightspeed Power Rangers had returned after 200 years, something that took him and his mother by surprise. Even though he firmly believed that he failed the entrance exam to apply to UA, he still felt hope when he watched the debut of the Lightspeed Rangers, wondering who they could be, but deep inside he felt like he somehow knew the Red Ranger. I haven't heard from Connor in months. I don't want to tell him about All Might and his quirk, but I wonder if he's doing okay or if he was hurt or anything. I mean, I'm sure the Power Rangers saved him if he was involved in the monster attacks, but I can't be certain of anything. Izuku thought as he crawled into bed. Still, I haven't even heard from All Might either, so it's possible I failed the entrance exam. No, I can't believe that. Connor told me that I have to keep looking forward and hope for the best. He told me that he'd never give up on me, so I won't give up on myself. As Izuku fell asleep, a golden light flew past the windows of the apartment complex and through the air over Mustafa City before it came to a stop on the roof of a building close to the home of a certain explosion quirk user. The light soon took the form of winged monster with red eyes, a golden body, elongated skull and 2 horns, revealing none other than Diabolico, one of Queen Banshira's former followers before he turned against his queen, when he learned that she considered every one of her soldiers as expendable and forced him to destroy Loki, his friend. Looking over the city, Diabolico took in the city's sights and people, especially the pro-heroes on night patrol. It seems that the world has changed since we've been resealed in the shadow world. It appears that I was not the only one who was released. Olympus has been released, and knowing him, he'll be trying to complete what his mother started all those years ago. He still doesn't know that his mother also saw him as expendable. He muttered to himself, before he unfolded his wings and took the skies. I have to find the new Rangers and warn them about the impending danger. At the same time, in the Skull Cavern, Jinxer kneeled before his prince. Oh, Olympus, are you sure this is how you want to proceed? I mean, it feels awfully similar to what Diabolico tried years ago. Jinxer told his prince. I am nothing like that traitor. This time I have a better plan, and even if we lose him, we have that contingency plan. Remember, you said it would take time for those 5 to be resurrected, so we must keep the Rangers in the dark about our plan. Olympus reminded his follower. Oh, of course, my prince. Please, forgive my impudence. I meant no disrespect. Jinxer immediately apologized. However, if I may, I believe that we should widen our attack and cause more damage. I believe that a weapon once used by Dark Spectre's forces would be a welcome addition to the weapons used by the Batlings. Jinxer added. Very well, make the necessary preparations. Olympus instructed, then used his powers to construct a spiritual image of a certain hero. Let us see what this symbol of peace can do, he said to himself after Jinxer left him alone. The following morning, in Mustafa City, the now 15-year-old Connor, and 17-year-old Melissa, Thomas, Lena and Anthony waited at the train station for Dr. Tatsumi, who had something to show them, something that he said would be of great assistance to the Rangers in their mission. The doctor had promised to meet the Rangers at 8 in the morning, before they were to take their special entrance exam to determine if they would be allowed to attend UA. It came as a shock to the Rangers when Nizu said that he would allow them entry into his school without having to take the entrance exam, but it shocked the principal more when he heard from the Rangers that they would like to take the entrance exam like they were any other applicant. Of course, they had 8 months to train themselves for the exam, seeing as the exam was focused on those with quirks and not those without quirks. Nizu, surprised by the request, greatly accepted the request, and promised that once the normal exams had finished, they would need a few days to prepare the training grounds for the exam. It was already 10 and it left them with only 2 hours before their exam was to begin. Nizu won't like it that we missed the exam, Lena pointed out. I've tried calling the doctor, but he's not answering his cell phone. He's probably driving, so that would explain a few things. An hour is one thing, but 2 hours. That's a bit too long if you ask me, Anthony said in agreement. I'm sure Mondo will be here soon, Melissa assured the two. He's always caught up in his work, so he can get carried away. We just have to be patient, Thomas agreed, as another train left the station. Let's also not forget he's about 60 years old and not as young as us. Connor kept to himself, looking at his phone. Having texted Izuku that he would be coming back to Japan in a few months, he wanted to text Izuku about the possibility of him attending UA, which he had hoped would be able to keep Izuku from the bullying like Bakugou, who he knew would have gotten into UA because of his quirk. But he decided to keep it a secret until he actually got into UA. A car pulled up and stopped in front of them. In the driver's seat was Dr. Tatsumi himself. Sorry for taking so long, it's been a long time since I've been into the city. Mondo apologized to the Rangers. It's alright, doctor. But we don't have a lot of time before our exam, Lena reminded. Don't worry, you'll be back in time for your exam, Mondo assured as the Rangers climbed into the car. After they left the station, they drove to Mondo's home, the Tatsumi Disaster Prevention Agency. I know you all have dropped your personal belongings here, but what I have to show you is not inside, but further out, Mondo told the Rangers as they walked into the building, only to be surprised when the walls near the kitchen opened up to reveal secret transport tube that took them under the ocean at a speed unlike anything the Rangers had ever experienced before they finally saw it, the rescue bay from the old Aqua base. I'm sure David told you how I've been working on your Zords. Well, we were able to salvage the remains of the rescue bay and convert it into a new, super rescue lab. Everything from your weapons, to the newest Zords, will be developed here, and I have been assured that the demons will not be able to hijack the Zords, at all. Assured by who? Connor asked. That would be me, a voice said. Arriving on the nearby lift, a young African-American woman in their late teen or early 20s dressed in a lab coat, with black hair, blue eyes, glasses, stockings, and heels. After all, my great-great-grandmother invented the technology used by the original Lightspeed Rangers, including my great-great-grandfather, the woman said, removing her glass from her eyes. Allow me to introduce to you to my assistant and leader of the team that will assist you in defeating these monsters. Jessica Rawlings, the descendant of Joel Rawlings and Angela Fairweather, Mondo introduced. Oh, I know of you. You graduated high school at the age of 15 and went on to attend the Tokyo University of Science, graduating at only 19 years old. The youngest scientist in history with skills rivaling that of my papa. Melissa exclaimed. Well, Dr. Shields is one of my idols and I want to be just like him one day. Jessica admitted. When Dr. Tatsumi and your father approached me a year ago about assisting the Power Rangers, I couldn't pass up an opportunity like this, and they don't come often, in any lifetime. Now I'm wondering why you weren't selected on becoming one of the new Rangers. Thomas wondered aloud. As much as I would be honored to be a Ranger, I'm more suited to working behind the scenes and supporting all of you. Jessica answered, then walked over to a monitor and typed in a few commands. Which is why I am pleased to show you the new and improved Zords you will be using in your fight. Appearing on the monitor were the 5 rail rescues, sitting on a set of dual train tracks. The rail rescues? Forgive me for saying this, but I'm not seeing anything new or improved about them. They just look like trains to me. Anthony admitted. Oh, they are much more than trains, I can assure you. In fact, I've also been working on. Jessica began before Connor's phone buzzed. Are you vibrating? Excuse me. Connor apologized, excusing himself from the others, and pulled out his phone, seeing the caller was Izuku. Hey, Izuku. Now's really not a good time. I'm in the middle of. Wait, slow down. You saw what? When? Where? Don't worry, I'm not near there. Listen, I got to go. Call you later. Connor practically shouted, alerting the other Rangers before he finished his call, but before he could even say anything, a green and gray robot the size of an astromech droid rolled into the observation room. Dr. Tatsumi. We have an emergency, the robot exclaimed in alarm. What's with the Arto look-alike? Lena asked. This is Mint, an analysis robot I invented. Mondo answered. What is it, Mint? You need to turn on the news, right away, the robot exclaimed. Quickly, Jessica switched the monitor from the train bay to the news channel. From Hosu City, where less than half an hour ago, a molten rock slammed into the city center, causing widespread fires and massive devastation. Pro-heroes and local authorities have already begun rescue efforts, but the area around the rock has been sealed off. Scientists are all ready. Wait, what's that? Get a closer look at the rock. The news reporter said from inside the newscopter, the cameraman shifting their attention to the still steaming rock. Are you seeing this? It looks as if it's alive. I think it's. The reporter never got to finish their sentence as the massive rock suddenly exploded, and emerging from it was a giant monster made of rock, spreading fires all around him before lava erupted from the ground beneath the monster, spreading throughout the city and destroying everything in its path like a tidal wave. The helicopter on the other hand quickly flew away. Oh man, and I thought what happened in San Angeles in 2007 was bad, but this is even worse. Thomas exclaimed. Hosu is 2 hours away. We'll never get there in time with the rescue rover and our current equipment. We can't handle a disaster like this. Connor pointed out, then turned to Dr. Tatsumi and Jessica. We need to use the rail rescues. What? But we're not ready to use them. We haven't even read up on the specs of those machines. Lena pointed out. Neither did the original Lightspeed Rangers, but people's lives are at stake. We can't just stand around. Those Zords are faster than the average train, and they have the rescue Zords loaded up in them. Melissa countered. That I'd suggest you 5 get moving. There's no time to waste. Jessica said with a smile, gesturing to the lift that she had used earlier. The 5 Rangers stepped onto the lift, and as it lowered to the bay below, they morphed. Lightspeed. Rescue, they all shouted and morphed, then ran towards Rail Rescue 1, which resembled a steam locomotive. Taking their respective seats, Connor took his blaster grip and inserted it into the controls. Up in the observation room, Jessica typed in a few commands on one of the consoles, raising the rescue bay to the surface, surprising the people on the shore as a set of dual railroad tracks rose from beneath the waves like an ancient creature from the deep, as the rescue bay opened up, revealing the 5 rail vehicles. Systems are green across the board. Thomas reported. Energy levels are stable, shouted Anthony. Pressure is steady. Lena called out. All rail rescues are online. Melissa shouted. Rail rescues. Ahead full. Connor shouted, pushing forward on the controls the moment the wheels of the other 4 rail rescues connected with the tracks, followed by the whistle of the lead rail rescue, which then moved slowly down the tracks, followed by the other 4 and a small jet that appeared to be inspired by the prototype fighter jet. The switches were thrown, allowing the other 4 rail rescues to couple up to each other, then connected to Rail Rescue 1 which sped down the elevated tracks. Ahead of them, another set of tracks rose up from the ocean, followed by more tracks that rose up from the ground, creating the tracks for the rail rescues. Lightspeed Rail Network, online. Jessica said over the comms. We won't need to borrow the tracks used by the Japanese railway now. Music to my ears. Connor chuckled and pushed forward on the controls, increasing their speed, and rocketed down the tracks towards Hosu. Crowds of people on the bullet trains, drivers in cars and even pro-heroes who weren't called to assist in Hosu watched as a blur shot past them at speeds faster than that or equal to Ingenium himself. Speaking of Ingenium, the Turbo Hero and his 65 sidekicks rushed throughout Hosu, assisting in the evacuation of the bystanders caught in the path of the oncoming lava. His engines roared as Ingenium quickly scooped up a small child who'd been left behind in the panic and handed him off to the firemen who were continuously spraying water on the blazing infernos and the lava that snaked onto the smaller streets of the city. Where are those fire trucks? One of the firemen shouted. They're stuck on the freeway. Traffic's a mess cause the lava has blocked off the exit ramps, another shouted, as the winged hero Hawks touched down, along with the feathers he sent to rescue the people that were still trapped in a now collapsed building. What's the word Hawks? It's bad. Got multiple calls over the radio. We've got multiple bystanders stuck in an underground parking garage, the overpass is starting to buckle under the weight of all those vehicles on the freeway, fires have spread to several apartment complexes, the chemical tanks a few blocks away are starting to heat up and we got an office building about to collapse with people still inside. Mirko and the others are doing everything they can, but we don't have enough heroes for this one, the winged hero reported. We're deep in it now. Whatever the hell that thing is, it just submerged itself back into the meteor and vanished. I don't even think the JSDF can take that thing, and they're experts at fighting giant monsters, the fireman joked haphazardly, just as a building nearby collapsed. At least we got a few UA high students backing us up. But it won't be enough. That lava just keeps coming. We need to stop it, another fireman shouted as ahead of them on the main street the lava continued to make its way through the city. It was then that a whistle was heard throughout the city. Was that a steam engine? That's no ordinary steam engine, that's the rail rescues. Hawks answered. Rushing through past stations and flying past the bullet trains carrying the bystanders to safety, the rail rescue streaked into Hosu at max speed down the tracks and through the flames from the buildings nearby on both sides of the tracks. Rail rescues. Full stop. Connor shouted, pulling back on the controls, and bringing the massive train to a stop. Rangers. We deployed the new rescue jet to survey the disaster. The freeway is jammed with traffic and the nearby overpass will buckle from the weight any second. We've got people trapped in an underground parking garage, multiple apartment complexes on fire, chemical tanks near the city limits that are ready to blow and an office building that's going to collapse at any second. You'll need to split up to handle all these emergencies. Mondo said over the comm. You got it, Doc. Miss Rawlings, advise us on the best way to use the rescue zords. Lena acknowledged as Connor ordered everyone to their own rescue zords. The doors to the rail rescues opened up as each ranger entered their own rescue zords and slotted in their blaster grips to the controls. Pyro Rescue 1, launch. Connor shouted as his zord drove out of the rail rescue. Aqua Rescue 2, launch. Aero Rescue 3, launch. Has Rescue 4, launch. Med Rescue 5, launch. A fire engine, water tanker, VTOL, armored hazmat truck and ambulance exited the rail rescues and headed towards the disaster area, much to the relief of the firemen and some of the heroes. Melissa, clear that freeway. Lena, head for the parking garage. Anthony, the chemical tanks are all yours. Thomas, the apartment complex. I'll head for the office building. Let's do it, Rangers. Connor instructed. Got it. The Rangers acknowledged and headed for their designated areas. Car horns echoed around the freeway as the backup continued to grow longer and longer, blocking off the firemen who were trying to rush to the scene of the disaster. Police officers tried to guide the drivers off the freeway, but a tanker further down the freeway had blocked off several off-ramps, further straining the overpass. Med Rescue 5 rolled slowly down the other end of the freeway, lowering its ramp before Melissa addressed the bystanders. Please make your way into the back of the rescue vehicle in a calm and orderly fashion, we need this freeway clear for the firemen. Melissa instructed over the Zord's loudspeaker. The drivers drove into the rescue vehicle, filling it up to capacity before its back doors closed up, then drove away to a location further down the freeway, offloading its cargo. Freeway is clear. Melissa reported. The ceiling of the parking garage had caved in, trapping multiple civilians in the garage, which was filling up with smoke, forcing those still trapped to stay low to the ground. By the rubble, pro-heroes Death Arms and Mirko were bashing their way through the rubble, but there was more than they thought there would be. DMN. I'm the kind of hero who prefers to fight, but this kind of work is really making me angry. Mirko cursed. Just keep punching away at this rubble. We need to get those people out of there. Death Arms shouted to the rookie. Yeah. I know that old timer. Mirko teased, kicking the rubble with a large and powerful kick that shattered into tiny pieces. We're getting nowhere with this. Clear the area, heroes, came the voice of Lena, which echoed around the garage as Rescue 4 drove into the garage, spinning around in a 180-degree turn, then deployed a massive claw from its back, then drove towards the rubble, smashing through it, giving the heroes an opening. The claw then rose up, bracing the ceiling as heroes and paramedics moved in to help the injured. DMN. Mirko whistled impressively. That is one badass vehicle. Just glad I could help. Lena said, driving her vehicle out of the garage and back to street level. 10 blocks away, near the city limits, firemen doused the flaming chemical tanks with water, trying to put the flames out. The tanks were filled with 20,000 gallons of natural gas, enough to take out everything within 20 city blocks. Fire trucks were running empty out of water, water tankers were having difficulties flying through the smoke, and the temperature of the tanks was reaching critical levels. Captain. It's no good. We're completely out of water and those choppers aren't coming, those tanks are going to blow. The best we can do minimize the damage when they exploded, a fireman shouted to their captain, a man in his early 40s with dark black hair. We can't retreat. We've got to put out those fires, the captain countered. We took an oath to protect and serve the public, and I refuse to be known as the man who retreated. Find us some water, any water at all. Hell, I don't care if you have to use water from the sewers, just get me some water. Get ready to get wet. Anthony shouted over his Zord's loudspeakers as Aero Rescue 3 roared overhead at top speed, with its bay doors open. As it flew over the chemical tanks, water dropped from the bay, dousing the flames and the tanks in a single pass, but still the fires raged. Bringing his Zord around, Anthony made another pass at the fires, using the rest of the water in his bay, finally putting the blaze out. That should keep those tanks from exploding. You guys can handle the rest, I need to fill up on more water. The Green Ranger informed the firemen, flying towards the reservoir to refill his Zord's water tanks. Back in the city, the fires at the apartment complex continued to burn at an alarming rate as the lava continued to flow down the street behind it. Firemen on ladders tried to get close to the apartment complex so they could rescue the people still trapped inside, but the fires were burning out of control and blocking all possible entrances. Water from the hoses on the ladders were opened up and dosing the flames, but the fire was still spreading rapidly throughout the building. That all changed when Aqua Rescue 2 and the rescue hero, Backdraft, who was in Hosu visiting a friend in the Hosu fire department, rolled onto the scene with Backdraft leaping off the roof of the Zord, then opened up with his quirk, and began to spray the flames on the lower level of the apartment. Thanks for the lift, Blue Ranger. I've got the bottom floors, you take care of the rest. Backdraft shouted to Thomas. You got it. Water cannons, fire. Thomas shouted and pulled the trigger, firing his Zord's water cannons at the building and doused the flames on the upper floors, allowing the firemen on the ladders to get inside the building and began to evacuate the civilians still trapped inside. Apartment complex is under control. Connor, what's your status on the office building? Arriving on the scene now, Thomas. Connor shouted as he brought his Zord to a stop, directly in front of the office building, which was beginning to list towards the rest of the city. Activating stabilizers. Connor shouted, as the front and back bumpers of his Zord dug into the ground while the back of his vehicle rose up and a pair of arms shot forward towards the building, gently grabbing hold of the building. I got a good grip on the building. Connor said over the radio. Just then, numerous branches shot out from the front of the Zord, coming from Shinji Nishiya, aka Kamui Woods, rose up and grabbed hold of the civilians close to the broken windows, lowering them safely to ground level as firemen and paramedics escorted them away from the damaged building. One of the people trapped inside the building lost their footing and fell over the edge, screaming as they fell to their possible death, but were caught at the last minute by the last person Connor expected to see in Hosu. Dressed in a royal blue skin-tight bodysuit with a high black collar, pale mint green markings covering her torso from her shoulders to between her legs, framed with a pair of matching turquoise stripes around her upper arms, a pair of knee-high boots with a thinning flap buttoned on each thigh with turquoise spirals around her ankles, matching the thicker spirals above her yellow gauntlets and wrist guards, a matching black strap around each thigh with two small satchels attached and two spiraling horns of periwinkle hair protruding from behind her ears. Nijire Hato caught the falling man and brought them safely to the ground. Glad I caught you just in time, Nijire said, then turned to the rescue Zord. Hey, Connor. Didn't think I'd be seeing you so soon. From underneath his helmet, Connor's face turned bright red as his Zord, but he quickly regained his focus. That's the last of the civilians. Red Ranger, pull back from the building. Kamui shouted. Connor did as instructed, retracting his Zord's ladder arms and stabilizers, putting his Zord into full reverse just as Ken Ishiyama, the pro hero known as Cementos, braced the building with cement until it could be safely stabilized. All disasters have been handled. Let's regroup and try to stop that lava. Connor instructed his teammates, but he was soon interrupted. Somebody help us. Please. We're stuck in the building. Help, a woman screamed. I can't get a lock on the location of the voice. Anyone got a fix on it? Connor shouted. He soon had the location, given to him by the rescue jet, a tower leaning slightly towards its side. Switching his helmet's visor, he found 4 heat sources. 2 adults and 2 children were stuck inside the elevator of the building. Confirming 4 bystanders, 2 adults and 2 kids. They're trapped in the elevator of that building, let's move it guys. Roger, the other 4 rangers replied and headed towards the disaster zone, followed by Nijire herself. As the rangers and Nijire headed for the building, down in the streets of Hosu, a small black Labrador puppy with a white stripe on its chest was tied to a bike rack by a piece of rope as the lava flow approached the small dog, which was trying to chew through the rope. Just when it seemed that the dog was about to be burned alive, the dog was suddenly scooped up by a pair of muscular hands with the rope having snapped off. Can't have a young life such as yours be cut short. Back with the rangers and Nijire, 2 towers near the other tower collapsed in front of the Zords while a pool of lava surrounded the leaning tower. Not good. Anthony said aloud. The building is surrounded by lava. There's no way we can to it. Thomas exclaimed. We need to cool that lava. Connor deduced. Anthony, you got enough water to handle it? Are you crazy? Anthony shouted. I can't do this alone. My bird doesn't have enough power to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. Mondo said over the radio as he and Jessica appeared on the monitor of their rescue zords. Anthony, lower your magnetic hooks and lift up Thomas's zord. Lena, Melissa, you need to position your zords directly below Thomas's zord for this to work. You got it, document. Anthony replied and positioned his own zord over Thomas's zord, lowering a set of magnetic hooks down onto Aqua Rescue 2 as its back split open and spread out. The hooks latched onto the zord, which was then pulled up into the air as Has 4 and Med 5 raised themselves up into the air, forming a pair of legs which Aqua 2 was lowered into, forming the machine known as the Hydro Walker. Better than at ST. You got it from here, Thomas? Anthony asked. Thanks for the help, Anthony. Thomas replied as Arrow 3 flew away. Activating water cannons. Thomas shouted and pulled the trigger, blasting out water from its cannons as it moved slowly towards the molten rock in the tower, cooling it down and causing the lava to dam itself up, creating a path. Alright, Thomas. Looks like we got a regular Moses with us. We got a path. Lena praised, joining Connor, Melissa and Nijire in the cockpit of Pyro 1. Sun Eater could certainly learn a few things from all of you about not letting his anxiety get the better of him. Nijire said. Hang on girls. This might get a little bumpy. Connor advised, driving his zord onto the hardened lava, bringing it to a stop directly in front of the building. Like before with the office building, he activated his stabilizers which dug into the ground, then shot his zord's ladder arms into the building, leaving a large hole in the side of the building. The right arm of the zord raised itself towards the hole, carrying Connor, Melissa, and Lena while Nijire flew up to the hole with her quirk, as the ceiling started to cave in slightly. We don't have a lot of time. We got to find those people. Come on. Connor shouted. Right. Lena, Nijire and Melissa acknowledged and ran in different directions. Melissa leapt over a fire, protected by her suit. Nijire flew up with Connor holding her hand. But it was Lena who found the elevator, which was directly below a fire. I found them. Lena shouted, rappelling down to the elevator's roof, then pulled open the hatch to the elevator. They are all right, but they're out cold. She called out. Suddenly, the building shook, causing one of the cables to snap. Not good. Running to the door, Lena tried to pry it open, but it wouldn't budge. Need help. Elevator 5. She shouted through her helmet. We're on it. Connor shouted back, with Nijire by his side, both trying to pry the door open, but it was welded shut by the heat. The building is not going to last much longer. We need to get them out of here. Melissa said as she arrived. We're not leaving anyone behind. Connor said with his fists clenched. People's lives are the Earth's future, and we won't abandon anyone in need. All Might wouldn't do it, so neither are we. Then call the rescue bird, Red Ranger. It's all fixed and ready for use. Jessica said through the comms. Bringing his hand to his helmet, Connor did as instructed. Rescue bird, he shouted. Launching from the rescue bay, the rescue bird flew towards the tower before it separated into 5 components, a drill, a pair of claws, a cutter, a laser, and an injector. Connor caught the drill and Melissa caught the injector, which she attached to her rescue blaster and sprayed the fire that had reached them, while Connor attached the drill to his blaster and began to cut through the door. On the other side of the elevator, Lena moved the parents and their children back before the elevator door was pulled open. Never doubted you guys for a second. Lena smirked underneath her helmet. Thanks later, we got to get out of here. Connor reminded the Yellow Ranger, picking up one of the children and running back towards the hole. Nijire helped the father, while Melissa helped the other child and Lena the mother. You guys better hurry. That monster's coming back, and he doesn't look happy. Anthony exclaimed over the radio. We're almost there. Melissa replied as they ran down the hallway and turned a corner. They had almost made it to the hole when the ceiling above them collapsed. We're trapped. This isn't good. Melissa exclaimed. Anyone got any ideas? Lena asked. I could use my quirk and blast our way through, but that might bring down the building depending on the output I use. Nijire pointed out. If we double back, we'll be caught in the collapse. Connor added. Suddenly, the building shook again, much to the surprise of the Rangers and Nijire, followed by a voice. Texas smash. To their surprise, the debris was blown out of the way and standing before them, dressed in a skin-tight blue bodysuit that was decorated with a red symbol that resembled a Y, designed with white diamond at the center with white lines connected to it which traced from his chest to his back shoulders, trimmed to the symbol which appeared to have wings on the side that ran atop the torso before ending around their back. Over the symbol was a similar red and white design that was absent of the white diamond. Large white patches lined with red covered each side of their hips before ending at their lower thighs, where a large gold belt with silver buckle and red eyes rested. Their forearm sleeves were colored in gold with white lines on each of them covered by blue accents on his wrists with spiked fins on the sides of their arms, while his feet were covered in shin-length gold boots trimmed with white and red accents. The bright smile and golden hair were a dead giveaway to the identity of the man. Fear not, Rangers. I am here to assist you. All might, they exclaimed. Let's get these bystanders out of here, then we can talk later. All Might told the Rangers and Nijire, running into Pyro One's arms. Miss Hato, Yellow Ranger, Pink Ranger, get these people somewhere safe. Red Ranger, pull back your Zord. You can't save this tower. The number one hero instructed. I didn't plan on sticking around here any longer. Connor said as the massive arms lowered the group to the ground, with Lena, Nijire, and Melissa leading the civilians to safety while Connor ran back to his Zord and retracted his latter arms. Full reverse, he shouted and backed away just as the monster, now clearly identified as Magmavore, smashed the tower, sending debris falling onto his Zord and trapping him. DMN. Not good. His sights set on the trapped vehicle, Magmavore growled as he approached the vehicle, his mind remembering his defeat at the hands of the first Lightspeed Rangers. This time, he planned on making sure that he destroyed the Rangers. His revenge was interrupted when All Might appeared in front of him, standing on top of the rescue jet. I won't let you destroy these young heroes, monster. Prepare for a world of hurt. All Might shouted as he leapt off the mini-jet, then spun in a frontal somersault, gathering momentum before he punched the monster in the head. California Smash, he shouted. His punch hit Magmavore HRD on the head, causing the monster to stumble backwards a few feet. Alright, All Might. Connor cheered just as he felt something attached to his Zord. Anthony. Who else were you expecting? Endeavor. Anthony joked, pulling back on his controls, and brought Pyro One into the air. I'm not some show-off, you know. Yeah, I know that much. Connor replied. Rangers, you know what you need to do. Prepare for Megazord mode. Mondo instructed over the radio. You got it, Doctor. Connor answered, his visor showing the combined form of the rescue Zords. Alright Rangers, Megazord mode, Lightspeed. Lightspeed, the other four Rangers shouted. The back of Pyro Rescue 1 folded forward, as did its front and sides which folded alongside either end. Other parts folded downward and formed a torso. Below it, Rescues 2, 4 and 5 moved into position to complete the transformation, but Magmavore regained his focus and extended his arms, launching fireballs at a nearby building which hit Arrow 3 and knocked it off course. Hey, hey. That's rude, you know. Nijire shouted from mid-air and charged her quirk. Full charge, output level 30. Nijire wave, she shouted, launching spiraling waves from her hands that slammed into Magmavore, followed by blasts from the rescue jet that pushed the monster back and allowed Arrow Rescue 3 to lower Pyro Rescue 1 into place, followed by Arrow Rescue 3 completing the transformation with its cockpit forming the head of the Megazord which stood tall and at the ready. Let's take this guy down. Connor shouted. I'm with you on that, Connor. Melissa agreed. The Megazord marched slowly forward towards Magmavor as Nijire pulled back from the fight. As for the monster, it raised its hands and launched fireballs towards the Megazord, all of which missed but slammed into a nearby building and the ground, creating a smokescreen, but the Megazord continued to press forward. Let's see how you like this. Ladder bomber. Lena shouted. The Megazord's arms rose up then twisted to the side before launching towards Magmavor, slamming into the torso of the monster several times. Anyone got any ideas on how we can stop the lava flow? Anthony asked. I got one. Let's use Big and Ugly to plug up the hole. A one-way ticket back to wherever he came from. Thomas suggested. I like that plan. Connor agreed. The Megazord grabbed Magmavor and lifted the monster up high into the air then spun around before tossing the monster back into the molten pit, destroying the monster and stopping the lava for good. All right. Good job guys. Connor exclaimed. Guess this makes up for the fact that we missed our entrance exam. Lena pointed out. We'll explain the situation to Principal Nizu when we get to UA. Even if we can't attend the school, we can at least show the staff of UA what we can do. Thomas suggested. Let's hope it goes as well as you think. Connor muttered. But what about the former molten pit? Leave that to us, Rangers. You just get yourselves to UA. Principal Nizu is waiting for you. Also, Red Ranger, you might have a stowaway on board your Megazord. One I saved earlier today. All Might said over the radio just as Connor found the puppy the number one hero saved earlier in his cockpit. I'm looking at him now, All Might. Also, I have something I want to say to you. Something I've been wanting to say for a while now, but that can wait. Connor answered as the Megazord disassembled and returned to the rail rescues. An hour later, the 5 Rangers ran up to the entrance of UA High School where Nizu was waiting for them, along with a few of the teachers. More specifically, Present Mike, Ectoplasm, Midnight, and Snipe. Hail the conquering heroes. Your actions today were wonderful. Oh, I had goosebumps watching you 5 in action. It really turned me on. Midnight praised. That disaster and your actions were shown all over the news, across the entire planet no less. I think it's safe to say that everyone, both hero and villain, knows what you're all capable of. Ectoplasm said in agreement. You 5 kids were rocking those zords like a heavy metal guitar solo. Present Mike added. I have to say, for 5 teens without quirks planning on attending this school, not bad at all. Snipe concurred. Yeah, but we missed our test, so getting into UA is off the table. This is going to make our job a lot harder now. Melissa pointed out. Actually, when we received word from Cementos that all 5 of you were in Hosu, we decided to use the disaster as your test, to see how well you handle yourselves in a situation such as the one you were in. And I am pleased to say that all 5 of you have earned 75 rescue points and 15 hero points. Nizu said with a smile. You mean? Connor began, the dog still in his hands. I am pleased to welcome all 5 of you, to the Hero Academia. Welcome, Power Rangers. Nizu said with a smile. The 5 Rangers cheered at the news. Now they were in the world's greatest school for young heroes. I expect great things from all of you, and you, young Grayson, will be pleased to know that your friend, Izukumidoriya, is also enrolled in this school. I knew Izuku had potential. Connor said with a smile. Little did they know that far in the distance, on a rooftop, Diabolico gazed at the 5 Rangers with interest. I'll have to keep an eye on them. They may need my help in the future, and I, in turn, will ensure that they will achieve victory over Olympus and whoever he has for allies. Diabolico vowed to himself, vanishing in a trail of energy. Of all the times in his life that Izuku was nervous, one of those moments now included standing in front of the gigantic doorway to Hero Course Class 1A, which was probably built for giants. The sight made him sweat nervously. And maybe I got the wrong room. I don't think this is the right place. Izuku stuttered, wearing the student uniform of UA High School. Well, being as there's no other place around the place. I reckon this must be the place I reckon. Came the voice of Connor from behind him, causing Izuku to jump in surprise as his American friend stood wearing the same uniform as he was and a blue baseball cap, only for Izuku to fall flat on the floor. And here I was hoping that I would surprise you, not make you fall on the ground. Connor deadpanned. Connor. What are you doing here? Izuku asked. Didn't you know? I'm in this class. Connor answered. Wait, you're attending UA? I thought only those with quirks could attend this school. Izuku asked, getting back to his feet. Nah. Connor shrugged. Principal Nizu told me and my friends that it was just a rumor that was started years ago. Anyone can attend the school, regardless of if they have a quirk or not, and that's a good thing for me and my friends, considering our powers. You mean you have a quirk? Izuku asked again. Not a quirk, but I'll explain it to you later. For now, let's get inside before we're late. Connor answered and slid open the door. But what they found was not what they expected. Take your feet off that desk, came the stern voice of a blue-haired glasses-wearing boy, also wearing the same school uniform as Izuku and Connor, who took off his baseball cap once he entered the room. Both of them looked around and saw their fellow classmates. One was a flamboyant blonde-haired boy with sparkling blue eyes, while another was a rather tall and muscly guy with white hair wearing a blue face mask that covered one eye. One was a girl with pink skin with horns, another was a large guy with an angular rocky-looking body, and one who had the head of a bird, followed by a girl with black hair done in a rather large ponytail with a single bang over her eye. Continuing on was a girl whose only indication was her clothes, giving the impression that she was completely invisible, a girl with long green hair and large eyes, a tall blonde-haired boy with a tail with yellow hair at its tip, a boy with spiky red hair and sharp teeth, a girl with earphone jacks on her ears, a large boy with spiky brown hair, a boy with a black lightning bolt-shaped streak in his hair, and a boy with a burn mark on the left side of his face, with heteromorphic eyes, and half white and red hair, and a boy with straight black hair that was spiked downwards. The last student was a girl with traits of Japanese and Canadian descent with brown hair tied in a ponytail and green eyes, and of course, sitting with his feet on the desk was Bakugou himself. It's already the first day and you're disrespecting this academy by scuffing school property, you cretin, the glasses boy said with anger. You're kidding me, right? Did your old school put a stick up your ass? Or were you born with it? Bakugou scoffed. And now we have this guy to deal with. Why am I not surprised? Connor deadpanned. The glasses boy cleared his throat and held out his hand to Bakugou. Let's start over. I'm Tenya Ida from the semi-private academy. The now named Tenya introduced. Semi, huh? So, you think you're better than me? I'm gonna have fun tearing you a new one. Bakugou said with a laugh. You would threaten me? Your own classmate? Are you sure you're in the right place? Ida said with a gasp before he spotted Izuku and Connor, his eyes focused on Izuku. Huh? It's him. The other students murmured while Izuku gasped and started to sweat like crazy. So, they seem to be staring at you like you're famous or something, anything you want to tell me? Connor asked. I took out the zero-pointer villain in the entrance exam with one punch and destroyed it. Izuku admitted, sheepishly. I'm sorry, you did what? Connor asked. Because I thought you said you took out a villain with one punch in the entrance exam. He repeated. I did. Izuku answered, then turned to Ida who walked over to them. Hi. Good morning. My is Tenya Ida from the semi-private academy. I believe you and I met before. Ida said with a bow. You two know each other? Connor asked. Yeah, we met during the exam. Izuku told Connor, then turned back to Ida. I'm Izukumidoriya. It's super nice to meet you. Tenya lowered his head respectfully to Izuku before speaking again. Midoriya. You realized that there was something more to the practical exam, didn't you? You must be very perceptive, and I want to apologize for my judgment about you. I admit, as a student you're far superior to me. Did something happen between the two of you? Connor asked. You could say that. Izuku answered. Ida seemed to think I was planning on breaking another applicant's concentration when I was trying to thank them for stopping me from falling face first into the pavement. Oh, is that all? Connor asked, looking at Ida, and then held out his hand. Well, as they say, let bygones be bygones. My name's Connor Grayson. I'm a friend of Izuku's. Nice to meet you, Ida. A pleasure to meet you. Ida said, shaking Connor's hand. I don't believe I saw you at the exam. Were you accepted based on recommendation? Ida asked. Well, it's not a recommendation, as you say. It's kind of. Connor began before someone else spoke up. Hey. I recognize that messed up hair. Falling boy, came the voice of a girl with auburn hair and auburn eyes, whose voice made Izuku gasp in surprise. That was an amazing punch. Thanks. I guess I should be thanking you for talking to judges on my behalf. Izuku said, confusing the girl. From what Connor heard, the girl went in and talked to present Mike about the results of the practical exam, begging that some of her points were given to Izuku after he saved her life during the exam. Though it was unnecessary, Izuku was awarded a total of 60 rescue points, despite not earning any combat points. Bakugou, however, just glared at Izuku, thinking back to the day he questioned how Izuku somehow got a quirk and managed to get into UA. Bakugou was under the firm belief that Izuku cheated, having vowed that he would be the only student from their junior high school to enter UA, but all he got for an answer was that someone told Izuku he could be a hero and that he couldn't stop him. One way or another, he was going to get to the bottom of this. Well, it looks like things are already shaping up to be an interesting year. Connor said, putting his backpack down by his desk. Anyone else notice the sleeping bag behind the desk, or is it just me? What sleeping bag? The girl with earphone jacks asked. At least someone noticed me. A voice came from behind the desk as the tired face of a man in a sleeping bag rose up and unzipped the bag, revealing a tall man with long scraggly hair and black clothes along with a gray scarf. Welcome to UA's hero course. It took the rest of you 8 seconds before you all shut up. That's not gonna work. Time is precious. Rational students would understand that. The man said. Who is this guy? If he's here, then he must be some kind of a pro. But he looks so worn out. Izuku thought to himself as he, Ida and the girl called Ochako Yuraka took their seats. I'm Shota Aizawa. Your teacher. The man introduced, causing the students to gasp before he handed the students their PE clothes and asked them to follow him outside. Once they were outside, Aizawa explained the reason they were outside. What? A quirk assessment test, the students asked at once. But orientation. We're going to miss it. Ochako pointed out. If you really want to make the big leagues, you can't waste time on pointless ceremonies. Aizawa answered, causing the students to gasp, save for Connor. Here at UA, we're not tethered to traditions. That means that I get to run my class however I see fit. You've been taking standardized tests most of your lives. But you never got to use your quirks in physical exams before. The country's still trying to pretend we're all created equal by not letting those with the most power excel. It's not rational. One day, the Ministry of Education will learn. After hearing what you just said, teach. I'm inclined not to question your methods and just go along with your plans. Connor said aloud, catching Aizawa's eyes. Oh boy, I think I might have doomed myself. You sure did, you quirkless loser. Bakugou said snarky. Wait, you don't have a quirk? The pink-skinned girl asked. Right, I almost forgot. I'd like you all to meet Connor Grayson, the Red Lightspeed Power Ranger and leader of the new Lightspeed Rescue Power Rangers, all of whom are attending UA. Aizawa introduced, resulting in a long silence before the students all exclaimed at once. "He's the Red Ranger," they all shouted. "Yeah, I am," Connor admitted, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly and revealed his morpher, then bowed to his fellow students. "Like Mr. Aizawa said, my name's Connor Grayson and I am the Red Ranger. It's nice to meet you all and I hope we can all become friends." Now with that out of the way, Aizawa began, then turned to Bakugou. "Bakugou, you managed to earn the most points in the entrance exam. What's the farthest distance you've thrown a softball when you were in junior high?" 67 meters, I think. Bakugou answered, catching the softball that Aizawa just threw to him. "Right. Try doing it with your quirk. Anything goes, just stay in the circle," Aizawa instructed. As expected, for Izuku and Connor, Bakugou added a little extra power to his throw, shouting, "Die," as he threw the softball a total of 705 meters. All of you need to know your maximum capabilities. It's the most rational way of figuring out your potential as a pro hero. Aizawa finished. "I wanna go." "That looks like fun," the pink-skinned girl shouted excitedly. "This is what I'm talking about, we get to use our quirks as much as we want." The boy with the triangular-shaped smile and oddly shaped elbows said with excitement. I don't think," Connor started to say before Aizawa turned to face the students. "So, this looks fun, huh?" The teacher started, causing students to gasp. "You have 3 years here to become a hero. You think it's all going to be fun and games? Idiots. Today you'll compete in 8 physical tests to gauge your potential. Whoever comes in last has none and will be expelled immediately. Like I said earlier, I decide how my class is run. If you don't like it, then you can go home." "What?" all the students shouted. "Immediate expulsion. 8 tests. CRP. Not good. I can only use one for all at either 0 or 100% right now. I don't have any control yet. A huge test on the first day of school. What the CRP am I gonna do?" Izuku thought to himself in a panic. "Okay, I take back what I said earlier. Don't you think that's a little much, Mr. Aizawa?" Connor asked, speaking more for Izuku, who he noticed was sweating like crazy. "Connor's right. You can't send one of us home. I mean, we just got here. Even it wasn't the first day, that isn't fair." Ochako agreed. "Oh, and you think natural disasters are? Or power-hungry villains? Or catastrophic accidents that wipe out whole cities? And don't think I've forgotten about the demons and who knows what other villains that previous ranger teams have faced?" Aizawa asked, resulting in the students murmuring amongst themselves. "No, the world is full of unfairness. It's a hero's job to try and combat that unfairness. If you want to be a pro, you're gonna have to push yourself to the brink. For the next 3 years, UA will throw one terrible hardship after another at you. So go beyond. Plus, ultra style. Show me it's no mistake that you're here. I don't approve of this kind of hazing, but UA's the top hero program. I have no choice." Ida thought to himself. "Time to blow these nerds away." Bakugou thought with a smirk. Why do I have a feeling that his threat of expulsion is no more than a deception? But what's wrong with Izuku? If he punched a 0-pointer villain with one blow during the exam, why does he look so nervous? Connor wondered in his mind. Now then, we're just wasting time by talking. Let the games begin. Aizawa said. For the next half hour, the students of Class 1A partook in these 8 tests, showing their quirks which Connor observed to the detail. Ida's quirk was engine, giving him incredible speeds. Ochako's was zero gravity, allowing her to nullify the gravitational pull of anything she touched, but the downside of her power was that if she used it too much, she would vomit. Next up was the flamboyant French boy, Yugo Aoyama, whose quirk was a belly button laser, which if he used too much would give him a stomachache. Following Aoyama was Bakugou, whose quirk allowed him to turn his suite into powerful explosions, which based on what Connor could see could cause a lot of collateral damage if he was reckless. Then, there was Hantashiro, who could generate tape from his elbows, Mizo Shoji who could generate multiple limbs from his arms, Mina Ashido who could spit out acid like a certain variant of a movie monster that once gave him nightmares, when he was only 10 years old. The blonde-haired boy with the tail was Mashireo Ojiro, who Connor noticed that his tail was his quirk, acting as a third arm, while the blonde-haired boy with the lightning bolt-shaped streak of black hair, Denki Kaminari, had an electric type of quirk. The girl with the earphone jacks on her ears was named Kyoka Jiro, while the bird-head boy, Fumikage Tokoyami's quirk was called Dark Shadow, which was an emitter-type quirk that acted like his guardian. Following them, was Momo Yayorozu, who could use the lipids in her body to create any object she wanted, Toru Hagakure who was always invisible thanks to her quirk, Koji Koda, who could communicate with animals, Rikido Sato who could multiply his strength tenfold for 3 minutes for every 10 grams of sugar he consumed. The spiky-haired boy, Ejiro Kirishima's quirk could harden his entire body, protecting him from most physical attacks and making him a beast in melee combat. The last 2 students were Shototodoroki, who appeared to have 2 types of quirks, one of which was ice-based, but the last was a mystery, and finally, Laura Soliowa Karibuchi, the half-Japanese, half-Canadian girl. Her quirk turned her entire skeletal system into metal and allowed her to generate metal claws from her hands and feet. A lot of promising quirks in this class. Well, except Bakugou's. Useful in hand-to-hand combat, stealth, recon, and rescue missions. Just one of those quirks in the hands of Olympus could spell disaster for the entire world. Connor thought as he watched each and every one of his classmates partake in each of the tests. Being quirkless, Connor did his best on each of the tests, but he noticed that Izuku was struggling more than everyone else. Izuku, I don't know what your quirk is, but if Olympus tries to take your quirk, he'll have to go through me, my sister, and the rest of the Rangers. Still, it seems that you don't have control over your quirk, and it seems familiar. As the tests came and went, Connor was selected for the softball throw. Alright, let's do this. Connor said, taking a deep breath, and drew back his arm, then threw the ball. The distance wasn't as far as Bakugou's, but it was an impressive 555 meters. Wow, that's better than I thought it would be, he said with amazement. He turned his head and then looked to Izuku, who was still sweating like crazy. This is bad. I've got to come up with some kind of game plan. Everyone's had at least one crazy good score already, even Connor. All that's left is this, the distance run, sit-ups, and the seated toe touch. It's now or never. This is my best chance to use one for all. Izuku thought. If Midoriya doesn't shape up soon, he's the one going home. Ida said worriedly. Huh. Of course, he is. He's a quirkless loser. Bakugou said with scoff. He has a quirk. Didn't you hear what he did at the entrance exam? Ida asked in disbelief, much to Bakugou's ignorance. He's always been a quirkless loser. Ever since kindergarten, he's been a helpless, quirkless, loser who's worthless and won't amount to anything. Bakugou countered. I beg to differ. Connor countered back. I might not have seen what Izuku did at the exam, but he's got both a quirk and the heart and soul of a hero. So, take my advice, stop putting him down, shut up and accept the fact that you're not as superior as you think you are, Kaken. Shut up. Bakugou scoffed. As Izuku readied himself for his turn at the softball throw, he thought back to the moments between himself, his mom, and All Might, who happened to be watching from nearby. With a yell, he threw the softball, only to find that his quirk didn't activate. What gives? I was trying to use it just now. He questioned. I erased your quirk. Aizawa answered, making Izuku gasp as the teacher's scarf almost came alive and his eyes glowed red. The judges for this exam were not rational enough. Someone like you should never be allowed to enroll at this school. Wait. You erased my... Izuku began before he spotted the yellow goggles around Aizawa's neck. Ah. Those goggles. I know you. You can look at someone and cancel out their powers. The Erasure hero. Eraser head, he exclaimed. Eraser? Who's that? Zero asked. Oh, I've heard of him. I think he works on the down low. So you realized. The kind of hero who doesn't like the press working as a teacher. Connor surmised. Okay, I think I can see where this is going. Finally. Someone else sees that Deku doesn't belong here. And it's coming from the other guy who doesn't belong here. Bakugou chuckled. That's not what I said. Connor clarified. You're not ready. You don't have control over your power. Were you planning to break your bones again? Counting on someone else to save your useless body? Aizawa asked Midoriya. No. That's not what I was trying to do. Izuku exclaimed only for the scarf of his teacher to wrap around his waist and pull him in close. No matter what your intentions are, you would be nothing more than a liability in battle. The same could be said for a certain red warrior if he gets too careless. Aizawa told Midoriya, casting a glance in Connor's direction before turning back to the green-haired boy. You have the reckless passion as another overzealous hero I know. One who saved 1,000 lives in a single day and became a legend. But even with that drive, you're worthless if you can only throw a single punch before breaking down. Sorry, Midoriya. With your power, there's no way you can become a hero. Aizawa told the green-haired boy. The other students gasped, save for Bakugou who was still the same as he'd always been to Izuku, but Connor felt himself gripping his arm tight. Even if it was coming from a teacher, no one talked to his friend and got away with it, but at the same time, he felt like Aizawa was doing something more than just telling Izuku he couldn't be a hero. At last, Aizawa let go of Izuku and shut down his quirk, allowing Midoriya to take his final throw. Come on, Izuku, show that idiot Bakugou that you do belong here at UA. Show him that you are worthy of being a hero and that you aren't a helpless nerd. Show him what I already know. Connor thought. From atop UA's main building, Diabolico focused his eyes on Izuku with interest. Whatever the boy's power is, there's no doubt in my mind it's a power that Olympus would try to take, and yet, it's the kind of power worthy of a ranger. Perhaps this boy has more potential than his teacher thinks. The Golden Demon said to himself as he continued to watch the events below. All eyes were on Izuku as he stepped up and prepared to take his throw. I've only got one shot at nailing this, so what am I gonna do? Izuku said. To himself, looking at the softball in his hands. As he contemplated his options, his gaze turned back to Connor, who gave him a smile. That's right, Connor said he believes in me, so I have to believe in myself and show Mr. Aizawa that I do belong here. Still, I can't control my power. But I can't just give up either. Do I let the egg explode? It might be my only shot at staying at UA. I have to try something. No matter the consequences. Izuku thought to himself, pulling back his hands and the ball before he threw it. Mr. Aizawa was right about what he said. If I can't control my quirk, there's no way I'll ever become a hero. I have to work way harder than everyone else here if I want to succeed. Even if I have a lot to learn, I'll focus on what I can do right now. Smash! Izuku shouted, throwing the ball with all his strength and power through his fingertip, minimizing the injury while maximizing the throw for a total of 705.3 yards, causing the other students to gasp while Mr. Aizawa looked at Midoriya, who was clutching his hand with the broken finger. Mr. Aizawa. You, see. I'm still standing. This kid. The teacher said with an impressed smile for one of the rare moments he ever was impressed. That's more powerful than anything I've ever seen. Diabolico said to himself from the roof. I knew he had potential, but that's not what I was expecting. Connor said in disbelief. But a throw like that, did he channel all his power into the throw? I still can't even figure out what his quirk is, but it's still powerful and leaves a bit to be desired. He threw it over 700 meters. Kaminari exclaimed in disbelief. Nice. He's finally showing us his true power. Ochako praised. But his finger appears to be broken now. Just like in the exam. This quirk is very peculiar. Ida observed. It wasn't a very pretty throw. Aoyama added. Pretty has nothing to do with it, Frenchie. In the tests or with our rankings. Connor pointed out. Bakugou on the other hand was at a loss for words and his jaw had dropped. The last thing he ever expected to see was that Deku had a power like he showed when he knew that the nerd never had a quirk when they were kids. It seemed impossible and he felt like the kid he bullied for most of his life was up to something. He even started to remember what Izuku told him, that someone he looked up to told him that he had what it took to be a hero. I'm getting to the bottom of this. He growled. Hey, he shouted, resulting in a gasp from the other students and Izuku as he charged at the nerd. Deku, you bstrd. Tell me how you did that, or you're dead. Izuku screamed as Bakugou charged towards him with an explosive force and braced himself for what would have come, but to his surprise he saw that Bakugou was soon wrapped up in Aizawa's scarf, preventing him from even using his quirk. What the hell? Why the hell is your scarf so strong? He cursed. Because it's a capture weapon made out of special metal alloy. Stand down. It'd be wise to avoid making me use my quirk so much. It gives me serious dry eye. Aizawa explained, his eyes glowing red once more. Too bad. That power is amazing, the students all said at once. Finally, Aizawa released his hold on Bakugou and the tests resumed, with Izuku fighting through the pain on each and every test before they were finally concluded. Alright, time to give you your results. I've ranked you all from best to worst. You should probably have a good idea of your standing already. I'll just pull up the whole list. It's not worth going over each individual score. Aizawa said, pressing a button on his phone, and brought up a ranking board with the names of the 20 Class 1A students on it. The person ranked last is going to be expelled. And the only test I was any good at was the softball throw. Can I squeak by on that score alone? I bombed the rest of the challenges. Izuku thought as he and everyone else looked at the results. First place, Momo Yaoyorozu. Second place, Shoto Todoroki. Third place, Katsuki Bakugou. Fourth place, Tenya Ida. Fifth place, Fumikage Tokoyami. Sixth place, Mizo Shoji. Seventh place, Mashireo Ojiro. Eighth place, Ejiro Kirishima. Ninth place, Mina Ashido. 10th place, Ochako Uraraka. 11th place, Koji Koda. 12th place, Rikido Sato. 13th place, Tsuyu Ajui. 14th place, Connor Grayson. 15th place, Laura Suliowa Karabuchi. 16th place, Hanta Siro. 17th place, Denki Kaminari. 18th place, Kyoka Jiro. 19th place, Toru Hagakure. 20th place, Yugo Aoyama. 21st place, Izuku Midoriya. Seeing his name at the bottom of the list, Izuku whimpered in defeat. I'm in last place. I failed. He thought. Connor noticed this and was about to comfort his friend when Aizawa revealed the truth. And I was lying, no one's going home. That was just a rational deception to make sure you gave it your all in the tests. WJAT, the students yelled in surprise, save for Suliowa who kept quiet. I'm surprised the rest of you didn't figure it out. I'm sorry. I guess I should have probably said something. You think, came the shouts from Jiro, Kaminari, and Mina. Alright, we're done for the day. Pick up a syllabus in the classroom. Read it over before tomorrow morning. Aizawa instructed. The other students headed back indoors, while he handed Izuku a slip of paper. Midoriya, Take this and go have the old lady fix you up. Things are going to be tougher tomorrow when your actual training begins. Make sure you're prepared. As Izuku left, Connor, who was waiting for his friend, was about to join the others but was called over by Aizawa, who wanted to discuss a few things with the Red Ranger. I didn't want to say this in front of the other students, but I'm against the idea of having the Power Rangers attending UA. Aizawa said bluntly. You believe that we're going to place the rest of the students and staff in danger? Right? Connor guessed. I am. I know for a fact that the aqua base used by the original Lightspeed Rangers was infiltrated by batlings who destroyed the base with the Life Force Megazord and who were able to take control of the Omega Megazord. An incident like those puts the safety of those attending U.A in jeopardy. Aizawa continued. I understand your concerns. But I can assure you that the 5 of us being here at U.A is all for the better. Connor countered. Me and the other Rangers, we believe that Olympus might come to U.A when it comes to powering up his monsters. If the Quirks one of your students is taken, it could be given to a monster, and they will become more dangerous. We didn't agree to Nizu's offer just so we could get rich and famous. That's what I wanted to hear. Aizawa said with a smile. Many students who apply to the hero course are only focused on becoming heroes so they can become famous. You 5 are different, like many others I've seen before. Let's just make sure that you don't slack off. We never slack off. Connor said, heading back inside, not noticing All Might nearby. The rest of the day went by quick, and by the end of the day, Izuku was tired after the nurse of U.A, recovery girl, healed his finger, but left him extremely tired. As he walked to the door, he found Ida waiting for him. How's the broken finger? The engine user asked. Oh. It's doing fine, thanks to recovery girl. Izuku admitted, though he felt extremely tired. I was a bit concerned by Mr. Aizawa's approach to class. But I trust the school's judgment. UA is the top program. Even so, lying is downright immoral. Ida said, changing the subject. Sounds like you're a bit serious about school. Connor said to Ida, walking up behind them. But I can't disagree with your concerns, and I can't disagree with what Mr. Aizawa was trying to do. Just what was Mr. Aizawa trying to accomplish with the deception? Ida asked. That you'll have to find out for yourself. Connor said with a smile, kneeling down to catch a certain black object that was waiting for him at the entrance to UA. Hey, Cody, he said playfully as the black lab puppy that All Might saved from the lava jumped into his arms, licking his face like crazy. Okay. I get it, you missed me. I missed you too, boy. Connor laughed. You had your dog wait for you at school. Dogs aren't allowed on school grounds. Ida exclaimed. He wasn't waiting for me. He came up here all on his own. And yes, he is my dog, but it was All Might who gave the dog to me and the other Rangers after he saved him. I kind of have a thing for dogs, and I already spoke to the principal about it. Connor explained. Besides, who could get mad at a face like this? Connor got back to his feet, holding his puppy in his arms, who then looked at Ida and barked happily. Well, I suppose if the principal allowed it, then I guess it's all right. Ida relented. But if he ends up disrupting our education, I will file a legitimate complaint to the school. Figured you'd say that. Connor said with a sweat drop. Hey! Wait up, you 3, a familiar voice called out from behind, revealing Ochako running towards them. Are you going to the station? I'll join you guys, she called out, then noticed Cody. Oh, a puppy. Oh, you're the Infinity Girl. Ida realized. Yeah, I'm Ochako Uraraka. Ochako introduced. Let's see. You are Tenya Ida. You are Connor Grayson. She then looked to Izuku. And your name is? Deku, right? Midoriya. Deku? Izuku asked in shock. Yeah, isn't that what Bakugou called you? During the fitness test? Ochako asked. Well. My name's actually Izuku. Deku's what Kaken calls me to make fun of me. Izuku admitted. That's unsportsmanlike. Ida said. Unsportsmanlike is putting it mildly. Connor added, resulting in Ochako and Ida looking at him. I also had the unlucky pleasure of knowing Bakugou when I was part of the student exchange program to the middle school that he and Izuku went to, and let me tell you, he's worse than what you've seen. Yet his quirk is very powerful. Ida pointed out. And that's where the problem is. Connor continued. From what I know, the moment Bakugou's quirk emerged, he became the full of himself, egotistical and a bully. He'd always bully those who were quirkless and that he saw were beneath him. He even went as far as to throw Izuku's notebook out the window and told him that if he wanted a quirk, he should take a swan dive off the building and pray he was reborn in the next life with a quirk. He said those things? Ochako asked. Yeah, and he even had the nerve to interrupt my report on the Power Rangers before I returned to the States. With that kind of attitude and personality, he's got a long way to go to become a hero, or the next #1 hero. Connor added, scratching the back of Cody's head. Such vulgar behavior. Ida exclaimed. You know what? I like Deku. It could make a great hero name. Plus, I think it sounds kind of cute. Ochako said, despite hearing everything that Connor said about Bakugou. Deku it is. Izuku said with a red face. Just like that? Weren't you saying that it was an insult? Tenya exclaimed in surprise. Paradigm shift. My whole world is upside down. Izuku exclaimed, almost hysterically. Wait, what? Ochako asked. I can explain it better tomorrow. Connor told the girl and headed off in the direction of Mondo's house, his dog in his arms and the first day of Hero High School behind him, but at the same time, he felt like he was being watched. At the very same moment, in another dimension, a ball of energy entered the skull cavern and manifested into the form of Jinxer, who knelt down in front of his prince, who was sitting on his throne. Oh, my prince. I have returned and have gathered the energy of several powerful foes for us to revive. I even went to Terra Venture and the ruins of Trakena's old ship to gather energy. Jinxer reported. Excellent work, Jinxer. How soon can you bring them back to the world of the living? Olympus inquired. I can begin the necessary preparations for the spell right away, my prince. Leave everything to me and I promise you, you will be not disappointed. Jinxer answered and left the throne room, leaving Olympus alone with a smile on his face. Thunder and lightning echoed around the skull cavern as Jinxer placed the canisters of spiritual energy on several stone pedestals around a large BLD red crystal situated in the center of a large chamber in the lower levels of their base of operations. The canisters are in place, my prince. Now to begin the revival ritual. The bug demon told Olympus, who stood nearby and watched. Then stop wasting time and revive them at once, Jinxer. Olympus ordered. At once, my prince. Jinxer replied and opened his spell book. Darkness far and wide, converge together and revive these fallen warriors. He began as dark energy gathered and entered the crystal. Warriors of evil, we call upon you. Return to the land of the living and seek your revenge. Rise up from the darkness and bring new life. Arise and live again, he chanted as more and more dark energy flew into the crystal while the canisters glowed brightly before they finally shattered, and the energy took physical form. The first to emerge in physical form was a golden armored flying monkey-like creature, followed by a skeletal figure with red eyes and a mix of military camouflage on his bones. Both of them wielded swords. The third figure to emerge was a black monster with green lines all around him and red eyes. Following the black and green monster was a monster with 6 horns, yellow eyes, sharp teeth, long fingernails, a red and gray face and wore an orange-like outfit. Next was a creature with a blue and yellow head and wearing red armor, followed by a blue and white manta ray-like monster with a cape that resembled a manta ray's wings. Next was a yellow, black, and red alien that almost appeared to be robotic with a silver neck and metal arm guard blasters, then a one that resembled a pirate, followed by a knight-themed creature with a large, spiked mace. Also emerging from the energy was a red, rock-based monster with horns and a humanoid creature with icicles on his head that was like his hair, made up completely of ice, and then a human female wearing purple and black clothing. 5 more figures emerged, these ones being Automon, Garruk, Stelan, Tetzla and General Venjix, warriors of the Machine Empire who met their end at the combined strength of 10 Red Rangers. Finally, the last 2 figures emerged from the energy, one taking the form of a rather ugly-looking monster and the other a human female wearing scorpion-themed armor. My prince, allow me to introduce you to Golder, Rito Revolto, Ecliptor, Darkonda, Trecherin, Villamax, Deviate, Loyax, Molter, Flurious, Miratrix, Scorpina, Automon, Garruk, Stelan, Tetzla, General Venjix, and Jinxer began, but some found himself blanking on the name of the last fallen warrior that was summoned. The name's Elgar, now can I get a bite to eat around here? I'm really starving, the ugly monster asked in a dim-witted tone, spotting a battling nearby. Hey, you! Can I get a turkey on rye, extra? Peanut butter and marshmallows, the battling nodded and left the chamber. Thanks, you're the best. I don't seem to remember gathering your energy. Jinxer admitted. Who cares? I've fought the Rangers more times than some monsters, plus I am the one who discovered the power chamber and helped to blow it up. Elgar pointed out. Gah! Where are we? Golder demanded. And why does it smell around here? Rito took a whiff of his bony armpits and recoiled. Oh, that'd be me. Guess being in the ground for so many years doesn't make you smell like fresh daisies. He answered. Ah, I like smelling like this. You shouldn't be here, traitor. Ecliptor shouted, his sword ready to run Darkonda through. You destroyed Dark Spectre. Oh, like you wouldn't have done the same thing. Darkonda shot back, raising his own sword. All of you. Stop this bickering at once. Olympus ordered. The former fallen monsters turned to face Olympus with a glare. I am Olympus, son of Queen Banshira. And I have brought you back to the world of the living to serve me. Why should we serve you? Deviate questioned. Because only together, we can destroy the Power Rangers. Olympus answered, causing any form of arguing to end. Alone, we could not hope to defeat the Rangers, but by uniting as a single force, we can destroy the Power Rangers once and for all. Thrax suggested the same thing, and he ended up getting destroyed by the Sentinel Knight. What makes you think you can accomplish this task? Molter asked. I agree with my brother. Flurious agreed. But at the same time, I feel that we should listen to what the prince has to say. His plan feels like it would be extremely different than the one purposed by Thrax. I can assure you, my plan is much more different than the one Thrax had. Rather than destroying the source of their power, we take the powers of the most powerful humans on the planet and use them to power up our monsters. Olympus said. What powers? Rito asked, scratching his bony head. Humans these days have a power called a quirk. These quirks vary from each individual, but with the right quirk given to the right monster, they will be unstoppable, and the Rangers won't stand a chance. Jinxer explained. For instance, a power-type quirk infused with a monster who prefers his fists can demolish a building in one punch. Elemental quirks can give those who wield fire or ice more power, and those who can regenerate will be invincible. Sounds like those comic books I used to read, before Aunt Divatox burned them all. Elgar said. Though, I'm guessing that even kids have them as well. 80% of the population on Earth has quirks. Those who have a promising quirk will be of interest to us, and if a child has a quirk, then we will simply take it from them. Olympus answered with evil intent. No, came the roar of Villamax, who stood by Loyax. You would target innocent children, because of their quirks. What does it matter? Deviate shrugged. That is the work of a villain. There is no honor. Villian shouted, turning towards Deviate. And it's because of you, that Scorpius was destroyed by the Red Ranger. You manipulated both sides, just so you could use the power of the cocoon for yourself. I refuse to work with any of you. I refuse as well. I was a mighty warrior who fought against evil for years before I lost my way. It was only because of the Yellow Ranger that I remembered who I truly was. I will not work with those who target children. We are not your pawns. Loyax shouted, raising his mace. You would dare defy me? The one who went through all the trouble of reviving you both. Olympus asked, raising his staff at the two warriors, then fired a blast of energy from his staff at the ground in front of them. You will do as I command or face the consequences. Then you'll just have to destroy us both. Villian taunted, vanishing in a trail of energy with Loyax before anyone could stop them. Oh, I was afraid of this. I should have known the two of them would remember their honor and refuse to serve you. I apologize, my prince. Jinxer said with a bow. Would you allow us to hunt them down and destroy them? Venjix offered. It doesn't matter. If they defy us, they will be destroyed. But on to another matter, what about those 5? Olympus asked. It will take a great deal of time to revy them, but I can assure you, that they will be loyal to you and our allies alone. Jinxer assured. Perfect. Nothing can stop us from destroying the Rangers. They will feel our revenge and be destroyed. Olympus said with a laugh, which echoed around the skull cavern. Down on Earth, the energy trails of Loyax and Villian took physical form in a forested area far from the city in the dead of night. Trakenna lost her way long ago and I will never work for someone like her or Olympus ever again. I am a warrior with honor, and I know what I must do. The Rangers must know what Olympus is planning. Villian vowed. I agree. But how do we find them? We're nowhere near the city and it would take us days to reach it by foot. Loyax added. Perhaps I can be of some assistance. Came the voice of Diabolico as he walked out from behind a tree and towards the two. I am Diabolico and I can take you to where the Rangers are. The following afternoon, back at UA, the students of Class 1A were sitting at their desks in their homeroom to begin their first hero basic training class, eager to see what they could do. It was at that very moment, the door opened and entering the classroom was the #1 hero in the world. I am here. Coming through the door like a hero, came the voice of All Might, wearing a different costume. I can't believe it's really All Might. Kaminari gasped. So, he is a teacher. This year is gonna be totally awesome, said an eager Kirishima. Hey, look. Is he wearing his Silver Age costume? Taisu asked as All Might stepped up in front of the class. I'm getting goosebumps. It's so retro. Ojiro said in awe. Welcome to the most important class at UA High. Mostly referred as Heroing 101. Here you will learn the basics of being a pro. And what it means to fight in the name of good. All Might stated, with the students looking interested, except for Connor who was struggling to stay awake. Let's get into it. Today's lesson will pull no punches. That's right. It's combat training. But one of the keys of being a hero is looking good. From out of the wall, 20 suitcases slid out from hidden spots, each marked 1 to 20. These were designed for you based on your quirk registration forms and the requests you sent in before school started. Get yourselves suited up and meet me at Training Ground Beta. All Might instructed the students, before he finally noticed Connor's lack of focus while the rest of the students went to change into their costumes. Young Grayson, I know you don't have a costume considering what you do to prepare for battle, but that's no excuse for being tired. Connor stretched his hands and yawned before getting up from his desk. Sorry about that, All Might. It's just that, well, I didn't get enough sleep last night. Something caused me to wake up. Connor admitted. Don't tell me you felt a disturbance in the force, young man. All Might joked. Actually, more like I had a dream. I don't know what it was, but I saw these things fighting alongside the battlings in some place I didn't recognize. Connor explained with a laugh, slapping his face with both hands. It was kind of hard to fall back asleep, but I'm wide awake now. Good to hear. Because you and the other rangers have a special combat training course today. I'll explain more later. For now, head on over the ground beta, and don't forget your jacket. All Might told the Red Ranger, dashing out of the classroom as quickly as he arrived. Later, All Might stood waiting in front of the entrance to ground beta, which resembled a city as the 25 students exited the entrance in their hero costumes. They say that clothes make the pros, young ladies and gentlemen, and behold, you are the proof. Take this to heart. From now on you are all heroes in training. All Might said as the students and rangers stood before them. This is getting me all revved up. You look so cool. Now, shall we get started, you bunch of newbies? I got to say, these are some pretty impressive costumes. Melissa said as she and the other rangers walked out, wearing their jackets over casual clothing. Connor agreed with her sister as he looked at the costumes of these heroes in training. Yaoyorozu's costume consisted of a high-collared, sleeveless crimson leotard with silver lines at the waist and around the arms, exposing a lot of skin which some students would find alluring. She also sported calf-length red boots with heels and 2 gold utility belts, one of which was thinner around her chest. Jiro's costume consisted of a black leather jacket, a long salmon-colored shirt with several rips at the collar and hem, black pants, boots with stereos built into their shafts, white fingerless gloves, a plain black choker and red paint marks just below her eyes. Definitely screams punk rocker. The rangers thought at once. Next was Shoto, whose costume consisted of a plain off-white shirt with matching colored straps over his shoulders, an ice-like material covering the left side of his face, which appeared to be detachable. Ida's costume consisted of black one-piece suit with a high collar, over which was various pieces of silver armor, chest plate included, a metal collar around his neck and one around his upper arm, metal vambraces on both arms that extended past his elbows, a helmet that covered his entire face, full of holes with 2 curved horns just behind a single spike sticking out of the back, knee-high boots with gold accessories, specialized for his quirk with 3 thick metal pipes around his torso, attached with a blue band. From a glance, Lena noticed the armor was lighter than the armor worn by the Silver Guardians. Tsuyu's costume gave her a frog-like appearance with a bright green turtleneck bodysuit, 10 colored gloves with large buckles on each wrist guard, 2 matching belts, with green dots embedded into the one around her waist. 2 black lines ran all the way down her suit, each framed yellow. On her feet were a pair of tight black boots with markings shaped in AV, green webbed flippers, resembling frogs' toes, while a headband that matched the color of her gloves and goggles with dark, green-tinted lenses attached on either side. Sato wore a yellow full-body suit that covered his entire body, with the exception of the holes for his mouth, eyes and hair, white gloves and boots and a utility belt around his waist that held small quantities of sugar in the pouches. Ciro's costume consisted of a black, skin-tight bodysuit with a turtleneck, which was plain apart from the white design on the mid-torso area and the 2 yellow trimmings around each of the elbow-length sleeves. On his feet were white boots lined with yellow with short white bands around his waist and sides of his thighs, with a larger one across his chest that connected to his shoulder pads which were shaped like tape dispensers. Completing his costume was a yellow helmet, shaped just like his shoulder pads, while a sizable black visor obscured his face. For Kaminari, he wore a plain white shirt, over which he wore an open black jacket with a white lighting pattern across his back and matching pants with 2 lines running down his legs, while a single square-shaped earphone was over his right ear, which resembled a radio antenna. That guy's going to shock himself, the rangers all thought. Tokoyami wore a black robe with a tint of dark purple that covered his entire body, stopping halfway down his shins. Underneath the robe was a dark t-shirt, wristbands, and a pair of baggy pants, followed by a pair of knee-high black boots and a double-pin buckle utility belt. Turning to Bakugou, the explosive boy's costume was composed of a tight, black, sleeveless tank top, with an orange X across the middle, forming a V-neck. Dots were along the left line of the collar, indicating the support company that designed his costume. A metallic neck brace worn with rectangular ends with 3 holes on each side were also a part of his costume, but the big indication of his costume was the massive grenade-like gauntlets that resembled the Mk2 frag grenade from the 20th century that his sleeves reached. Several more grenades were on his belt, that held up his baggy pants and knee guards, below which he sported black, knee-high combat boots with orange soles and eyelets. Finally, a jagged and black mask went around his eyes with large, orange-rimmed flare-shaped protrudes from each side. Wow, you weren't kidding. Bakugou really has a thing for explosions. Lena said to Connor. Trust me, you have no idea. Connor deadpanned, remembering several times when Bakugou used his quirk and left him covered in soot. Kind of looks like he's preparing for war. Ojiro's costume was karate-themed, with a plain karate gi tied with a black belt, the collar of which was lined with fur and black boots with sand blue details. Still, at least Ojiro's is simple and combat functional. Anathani pointed out. The sparkle from Aoyama's costume caught the eyes of the Rangers. The ever-flamboyant blonde-haired boy wore a bluish-black bodysuit, over which was a set of metallic lavender and golden armor, a chest plate, 2 spherical shoulder pads, elbow-length vambraces, and knee-length boots. On his chest plate was a high V-neck collar with a golden Greek fret-like trim, same with the lower diaphanous piece under the belt and edges of the vambraces. A long and glittering indigo cape along with a golden ring-shaped buckle with a blue crystal, which Melissa noted was for his quirk, matched the smaller ones over his shoulder and knees, while straight-angled golden lines ran along his baggy pants, with a matching set around his shafts. Finally, a red-tinted wing-shaped visor was worn over his eyes. What? Is he taking part in a fashion show? The Rangers deadpanned in thought. Koda's costume was a tight yellow suit, that reached only to his knees and elbows, with a large red marking over his torso that ended at his sleeves. On his chest, was a symbol resembling an open mouth, and on his feet were yellow shoes with red lining. For Shoji, he wore a tight blue tank top with 6 markings that resembled eyes, connected at the top to a darker colored mask that was more on the indigo side, designed the same way as the one he normally wore. A belt with another, larger eye shape embedded into the center, this one colored yellow, below of which he wore slightly baggy trousers that matched his shirt, with 2 dark lines running down the sides of his legs, and finally a pair of indigo boots. Uraraka's costume was a black, full-body suit with a pale pink design down the middle of her torso, topped with 2 black semi-spheres on her chest, pink stripes which started at her midsection, a deep pink choker, and 2-toned pink sleeves with cuffs, with matching pale and deep pink accessories. Said accessories included round gauntlets with handles, chunky, knee-high boots, a 2-piece belt with a round buckle, and a set of matching headgear with a tinted visor. A glance at the costume told the Rangers that the accessories were designed to press her acupuncture points, but the costume appeared to be a bit tight. Kirishima's, on the other hand, was anything but tight. His costume consisted of 2 dark red gear-shaped shoulder pads, with a jagged sash that joined the one on his left to the right side of his belt, which had a red R set into the center. Below, was a pair of baggy black pants and half cape with a ripped hem. He was also sporting a pair of dark red boots with thick rings around his calves. His chest was bare, but he wore a wired guard around his face, reaching from just above his hairline to below his jaw, with an extra piece going over the bridge of his nose, with some spiked pieces around his mouth that resembled fangs, giving him a sort of Oni-like appearance. Not demon-like, but it's interesting. Connor said, impressed. Mina's costume was a plain white mask over her eyes, with a purple and turquoise skin-tight bodysuit with a camouflage pattern that ended just above her melons. Over this, she wore a cropped, sleeveless, tan-colored waistcoat with white fur along the collar, which she left unbuttoned. On her feet, was a pair of custom-made plum violet and beige acid-proof boots with holes in the soles, which allowed her to secrete acid from her feet, allowing her to slide around. For Laura, she wore black leather biker pants and boots, short black leather biker gloves with holes at the knuckles. An army green camo, short-sleeved t-shirt was covered by a leather biker jacket with a hood completed her costume. Interesting biker costume, Laura. It looks good. Anthony said, but Laura didn't say anything except nodded at Anthony's compliment. Finally, there was Hagakure, who was simply a pair of light blue gloves decorated by pale pink lines and light brownish-gray lace-up shoes. You sure that's all you need for a costume? Thomas asked Hagakure. I'm good with it, TJ. Toru assured. You don't mind if I call you TJ, right? I'm used to being called, Thomas. But I think TJ sounds better. TJ answered. Connor looked around and noticed that someone was missing. I don't see Izuku anywhere. Maybe he's still changing into his costume. He said to himself. The sound of footsteps from the entrance made Connor turn around to see Izuku emerging from the darkness, wear a light green full-body jumpsuit with a red belt, elbow pads, knee pads, and gloves along with Izuku's signature red boots. He also wore a mask with long ear-like protrusions that clearly resembled All Might's haircut and a respirator with a makeshift smile on it that reflected All Might's own smile. Such a fanboy. He chuckled to himself. Uraraka noticed Izuku's late arrival and was quick to join him. Ah. Hey, Deku. Love your costume. Not too flashy, you know, she said, causing Izuku to let out a muffled whimper. I should have been more specific about what I wanted. This bodysuit is skin-tight. Not really my style. She admitted, rubbing the back of her head nervously. Be glad there's not a student at this school who lets his hormones get the better of him and say they love the school because of the costumes of the female students. There are people like that in the world and they are just creepy. Lena pointed out, unaware that somewhere, a certain boy with ball on his head let out a loud sneeze. At that moment, All Might noticed the resemblance of himself on Izuku's costume and let out a small cough under his breath. Now that you're ready, it's time to begin the combat training. He announced. Sir. This is the fake city from our entrance exam. Does that mean we'll be conducting urban battles again? Ida asked with a hand raised. Also, might I ask who the other 4 students are? Not quite. But as for the students, allow me to introduce you all to Thomas Johnson, Anthony Park and Lena Earhart from General Studies Class 1C and Melissa Shields from Support Course Class 1G. The blue, green, yellow, and pink Lightspeed Rangers. All Might answered. This is so cool. 5 Power Rangers at UA. Kirishima said with excitement. And 2 of them are complete hotties. Kaminari added. Did All Might say Shields? As in David Shields? Sato asked. You mean that's his daughter? Siro asked. Bah. What's the big deal? They're just a bunch of quirkless losers who think they can become heroes because they're stupid Power Rangers. Bakugou scoffed, not impressed with them in the slightest. Students, might I remind you that you're in class right now? All Might reminded, causing the students to simmer down while he continued to explain the exercise he had planned for them. Now then, I'm going to move you 2 steps ahead. Most of the villain fights you see on the news take place outside. However, statistically speaking, run-ins with the dastardliest evildoers take place indoors. Think about it. Backroom deals, home invasions, secret underground lairs. Truly intelligent criminals stay hidden in the shadows. For this training exercise, you'll be split into teams of good guys and bad guys and fight 2-on-2 indoor battles. Isn't this a little advanced? Tsuyu asked. The best training is what you get on the battlefield. But remember, you can't just punch a robot this time or pilot a megazord. You're dealing with actual people now. All Might answered. Sir, will you be deciding the one who wins? Momo asked. How much can we hurt the other team? Bakugou asked with a grin. Do we need to worry about the losers getting expelled like earlier? Ochako asked. Will you be splitting us up based on chance or comparative skill? Tenya asked. Isn't this Cape Traz chic? Aoyama asked, holding his cape. I wasn't finished talking. All Might growled, pulling out a small book from his back pocket and opened it. Listen up. The situation is this. The villains have hidden a nuclear missile somewhere in their hideout. The heroes must try to foil their plans. To do that, the good guys have to either catch the evildoers or recover the weapon. Likewise, the bad guys succeed if they protect their payload or capture the heroes. Time's limited, so we'll be choosing teams by drawing lots. All Might finished, holding a massive box in his hands. Sounds like the script for a classic action movie. Izuku said aloud. Yeah, and I love those. So long as the end doesn't involve the death of the hero. Connor added. Isn't there a better way? Tenya questioned, not thrilled about the idea of drawing lots. When you think about, pros often have to team up heroes from other agencies on the spot, so maybe that's the reason we're seeing that here today. Izuku reasoned. Yes, I see. Ida said, putting a hand to his chin. Life is a random series of events. He then turned to All Might. Excuse me for my rudeness. No sweat. Let's draw. All Might shouted. Oh, and before I forget, the Rangers will be participating in their own combat training after everyone else, but if they wish to partake in mock battles, they may do so. So, no complaints about them getting special treatment because of their powers. Lots were drawn and both Izuku and Ochako drew the ball marked A while Ida and Bakugou drew the ball marked D. Wow. What are the chances? We're a team. Ochako said with excitement while Izuku was more nervous than he ever was before. I declare that the first two teams to fight will be these guys. All Might shouted, pointing to both Ida and Bakugou and Izuku and Ochako. Team A will be the heroes, Team D will be the villains. Everyone else can head to the monitoring room to watch. Yes sir, the students said at once, except for Laura. As the students headed for the monitor room, Connor noticed Izuku had a determined look on his face, while Bakugou just scoffed. I got a really bad feeling about this. He thought to himself. He was right. Throughout the entire first match, Bakugou was gunning for Izuku as if he was trying to kill him, leaving Ida alone to guard the Tanuki. The more Connor watched as Bakugou targeted his friend, he felt his blood boil and the temptation to interfere with the match continued to rise. His hands gripped the sleeve of his jacket as he continued to watch. To his surprise and delight, he saw that Izuku was using the notes he wrote down in his notebook about Quirks to come up with various counters. The fanboy knowledge was paying off for Izuku, but Bakugou was clearly out for BLD. Even All Might was concerned the moment he realized that Bakugou had built up enough sweat for big attack. Young Bakugou. Don't do it. You'll kill him. All Might shouted, but that didn't stop Bakugou from unleashing a powerful attack that caused the entire building to shake. DMN. You weren't kidding when you said Bakugou was vicious. He's like a shark that just smelt BLD. Lena said. It gets worse. Melissa interjected. Based on the size of the gauntlets, the more sweat he builds up, the more powerful the explosion will be. If he builds up too much, he'll bring the whole building down. Are you serious? Kirishima exclaimed, then turned to All Might. Sir, this is getting out of hand. Bakugou is going crazy. He's going to kill him. Not so. All Might said, remembering what Bakugou said to him over the radio, but he was still worried. Bakugou. Use that stored up power again and I'll stop the fight. Your team will lose. To employ such a strong attack indoors is inviting the destruction of the stronghold you should be protecting. That's a poor strategy, where you're a hero or a villain. The penalty would be a massive loss of points. All Might shouted into the radio that Bakugou had in his ear. As Izuku moved towards the window, Bakugou switched to hand-to-hand combat and used his quirk to get behind Izuku, hitting him. He doesn't appear to come off as a guy with a strategy. But he's actually quite intelligent. Shoto observed. Bakugou and intelligent in the same sentence? Are you sure about that, Shoto? TJ asked. Yeah, I'm with TJ on this. What are you talking about? Mina asked. He changed his trajectory while in midair, using a blast that doubled as a smokescreen. Very clever. Shoto explained. A feint attack like that requires an extreme amount of precision. He had to calculate the physics and demonstrate control over his quirk. Momo added. Ugh, that Bakugou is uber talented. I hate it. Kaminari sighed. This is too hard to watch. All he has to do is wrap tape around him, not kill him. Mina exclaimed. Bakugou is certainly acting like a villain. Tokoyami added. I thought Midoriya was pretty amazing at the start of the fight, but he's clearly outmatched in terms of combat power. Not to mention Bakugou seems like a natural at all this stuff. Ojiro pointed out. Talented, he may be. But reckless he is. Connor said, doing a very impressive impersonation of a certain wise old man. So focused on Izuku he is, that Bakugou does not realize already, his team has lost the match. A plan, Izuku and Ochako have. Did you just speak like Yoda? Kirishima asked. I do a good impression, but now let's watch. Connor answered as the match finally came to its conclusion. Izuku finally used his quirk as both his fists and Bakugou's fists collided, blowing a massive hole through the roof, while Ochako was able to touch the weapon, ending the match, but not without cost. The backlash of using his quirk broke Izuku's arm. The hero teams wins. All Might declared. Phew. Talk about nerve-wracking. I thought that Bakugou was going to do a lot worse to Midoriya. Jiro sighed with relief. I think the bruises I got from when Bakugou used his quirk on me are hurting again. Connor sighed, also with relief. Wait. He used his quirk on you? Shoji asked. Yeah, well, Bakugou was quite the bully back in junior high school, especially to Izuku. Connor admitted. But when it came to me, he'd sometimes send me flying and I'd end up crashing into a brick wall. I am so going to kill him. Kyoka muttered under her breath. Despite Izuku's injuries, the rest of the matches proceed normally, with Ida being the MVP of the first match for showing the embodiment of evil, while Shoto showed that he was just as powerful as Bakugou when it came to using his ice, but the Rangers noticed that he never once used his left side. When it came to Laura though, Lena noticed that when she was in combat, she fought like a disciplined and well-trained soldier and used all her senses rather than her quirk, but that didn't stop them from laughing when Aoima's cape was burnt by Mina's acid and when Kaminari shocked himself silly. Alright, students, it's time for the Rangers to partake in the combat training. For their training, they will be using the latest simulation technology that many of you might have seen before if you ever took a field trip to Nisada. All Might shouted as entering the monitor room was a red and gold robot with a golden lightning bolt in the center of their body which glowed entered the room. I. Did anyone else feel the entire room shaking when someone destroyed a monster, or was it just me? The robot said in female voice, before it turned to Bakugou. Oh, that explains it. I thought it was the Mega V3 missile going into overload. The robot answered. Who the hell are you, a walking trash can? Bakugou snarled. I am Alpha 6. Faithful companion of the Power Rangers and operator of UA's new simulation training course. Alpha answered. My mission is to protect the Power Rangers. And their quest, to protect the universe from the forces of evil. One goal, one team, known as the Power Rangers. Awesome. I didn't think I'd ever get to meet a real robot, let alone one at UA. Mina exclaimed with excitement. Please be careful, miss. I'd rather not get acid on me and melt my circuits. Alpha advised. Oh, right, sorry. Mina pouted. Oh, don't worry about it. Alpha waved off. All Might, all systems are online and operational. We can now begin the Rangers' combat training. he told All Might. Many thanks, my robotic friend. All Might said, turning to the students. I suppose I should explain. Alpha here is in charge of the newest training method for those of you in the hero course. When the Rangers accepted the offer to attend UA, the school reached out and requested that Nisada provide us with the same technology used in the simudeck of the Astro Megaship. Due to the systems being more advanced, Alpha here was put in charge of running the simulations. All Might explained. It took a lot longer than we thought to prepare the simulation systems, but now they are fully operational, and who better than to break it in than the Power Rangers. Alpha added. Now then. Rangers, please make your way to ground beta and we can begin your combat training. All Might instructed. You got it, Uncle Might. Melissa said and followed after the other Rangers. Entering the training ground, the Rangers watched as the entire mock city was covered by a massive dome, which then whirred to life as All Might's voice came over the loudspeakers. Alright, Rangers. Time to begin your first combat training. Your enemies are the Quirks. Foes that the Space Rangers fought. While they might be holograms, heroes must never let their guard down, no matter what foe they are fighting. Your goal for your training is the same as before: locate and secure the villain's nuclear weapon within the time limit. All Might explained. Quirks, huh? Anathni shrugged, cracking his knuckles, and stretching his neck. Well, at least we don't have to worry about any lighting storms bringing them to life this time. He joked. Or having them take the place of actual people. Lena added. Look alive, Rangers, here come the Quirks. Alpha announced over the loudspeaker as from above, appearing as if they were gliding down from space with parachutes, with purple bodies and black disfigured faces were the robotic Quirks. I almost forgot. Watch out for the monster leading them. So they got a squad leader, huh? Connor smirked as the monsters landed and stood at the ready with their daggers in hand. Well, if I had to guess, the monster is guarding the weapon, so the only path forward. He began. Is to go straight through the Quirks. Melissa finished. Exactly. So, let's not waste any time and let's make this showy. Connor added, holding up his morpher. Ready? Ready, the other Rangers confirmed, holding up their own morphers. Light speed. Rescue, they all shouted and morphed. Begin. All Might shouted. Let's clear a path. Connor shouted and drew his blaster. The other Rangers followed his lead and drew their own blasters. Rescue blasters. Fire. A barrage of blaster fire downed several Quirks in the front, but the ones behind them charged towards the Rangers. Baton mode. TJ shouted and leapt into the air towards the Quirks, landing in the middle of a small group and swung his baton at them, slashing them across the chest. One Quirk managed to get a lucky hit on TJ, but it merely grazed him. Raising his baton behind his back and blocking the attack of another Quirk, TJ kicked it out from under its legs and punched it in the face. The other Rangers rushed in to join the battle, with Lena somersaulting over several of the robotic foot soldiers, turning her body around and firing her blaster, hitting several Quirks in the chest. One Quirk knocked her blaster out of her hands, leaving her without a weapon. Backflipping several times, Lena avoided the daggers of several soldiers, landing back on the ground and cross-kicked another soldier, sending it flying into the side of one of the buildings. No damage is the best kind of damage, she said, spotting her blaster and dived for it, scooping it up and fired at one Quirk as it was about to bring its blade down on her. Anthony swatted the punches of several Quirks away, then kicked one in the chest, knocking it back into its comrades. Fireballs from several other Quirks knocked him on his back, and one of them was about to bring its blade down on him, but the Green Ranger rolled to the side and leapt back to his feet, just in time to dodge another blade from his enemies. Let's even the odds, he exclaimed and drew his blaster in baton mode and attacked. Dodging, weaving, and parrying, Anthony countered each of the attacks sent his way. Connor fired his blaster as his sister thrusted her baton into the chest of one Quirk, taking out of the fight while her brother continued to blast the holographic soldiers. TJ, Anthony, Lena. We'll find the nuke. Hold them off. Melissa shouted, raising her baton to block a dagger strike from another soldier. Got it, the other rangers shouted as Melissa and Connor leapt over the crate rights and ran towards the building where the villain's hideout was. From the monitor room, Ida placed a hand on his chin. So, they carved a path through these creatures and allowed the red and pink rangers to go after the weapon. I must admit, a rather excellent strategy. He observed. Huh? Kaminari asked. If the rangers focused on the crate rights and completely ignored the weapon, they would fail in their mission to protect the universe. Alpha explained. Therefore, having two of them go after the weapon and having the others handle the crate rights is the best solution. I have to admit, these rangers are thinking more with their heads rather than their fists. Shoto added. Whoever the monster they have guarding the weapon is, it will take more than two rangers to defeat it. That's why the rangers work as a team rather than solo heroes. Remember, when heroes team up with others, it is important to work as a team rather than a lone wolf. All Might chimed in as on the monitor, Connor and Melissa made their way through the building until they reached the weapon and the monster guarding it. Said monster was a vampirus monster, the same monster that attacked the Temple of Ninja Power, where Ninja created the power coins used by the original Power Rangers. Katana in hand, the vampire bat monster raised its weapon and blocked a strike from Connor, while Melissa slashed at the creature's back. The monster was unfazed by the blow, and swung its katana around, slashing at Melissa's chest and sent her backwards. Sis! Connor shouted, only to be kicked back by the monster and crashed into the wall. Leaping into the air, the monster was about to bring its blade down on the Red Ranger, but the weapon was knocked out of the monster's hands by the timely arrival of the other three rangers. Glad you three decided to show up. Hey, we're here aren't we? Lena quipped, as Melissa and Connor joined them. Wow, and I thought orgs were ugly, but this thing takes the cake. At least it's not one of those monsters that can lay eggs inside you and kill you when they hatch. Anthony added. Let's talk movies later and focus on this ugly thing. Connor reminded the other rangers as the monster jumped out of the window and down to street level. Securing the weapon is our objective, and we could take out the monster. But we can't let this weapon remain in enemy hands. The others nodded and placed their hands on the weapon. The Rangers win. All Might shouted. The simulation shut down and the vampirus monster vanished, as did the remaining Craterides as All Might and the other students entered the training ground where the Rangers stood with their helmets off. That's a wrap. Super work. You really stepped up to the plate. And, we didn't have any major injuries, except for Midoriya. You should be proud. Excellent first day of training, all around. All Might praised. It's nice to hear some encouraging words after our homeroom class. Mr. Aizawa was kind of a buzzkill. So you said. I'm happy to bring such staggering positivity to my alma mater. That's all for now, folks. I should go and check on young Midoriya's progress. Now, watch as a pro exits. Like he's got somewhere to be. All Might said enthusiastically and ran from the students so fast, that they were amazed. Wow! Talk about a manly exit. Kirishima said impressively, then noticed that the Rangers had powered down and Connor was already heading inside. You going to check on Midoriya as well? All Might's got it handled, he'll be fine. Still, I'm concerned about him, Ejiro. I was Midoriya's only friend in junior high school, so it's natural that I'm worried. About him, especially after that fight with Mr. Explosion over there. Connor answered. Were you really his only friend in junior high school? Ida asked. Connor sighed and turned to the other students. I probably shouldn't say anything, but what the hell? Truth is that Midoriya was considered quirkless from his days in preschool. His quirk only emerged recently when he turned 14 because it's so powerful. Think about it, if he got his quirk when he was 4, he wouldn't be able to control it. Seriously? He was bullied because his quirk didn't emerge until he was old enough. Does that explain why Bakugou has it out for him? Toru asked. I only know what I saw in junior high. As for his history with Bakugou, that's not my place to say. Connor said worriedly, turning to Bakugou who just looked away from the Red Ranger. When it comes to quirks, I don't care how flashy they are or what type a person has. It's the personality of the wielder that makes me see what kind of person they are. Besides, I know what it's like to be bullied. The rest of Class 1A remained silent as Connor jogged down the entranceway towards the nurse's office. It didn't take him long to reach the nurse's office and was about to enter when he heard the voice of the school nurse, recovery girl, and someone else. Come on, All Might. I know you passed your powers on to this boy, but you can't spoil him, came the elderly voice of recovery girl from the other side of the door. I am trying not to play favorites. I wanted to consider his feelings though. He needed to see he was capable of winning the exercise. Oh yeah. Will you please not talk so loudly, bout one for all when anyone around could hear? Came the unknown voice. Connor knew right away that it wasn't All Might who was inside with Izuku and for a moment, he considered the possibility it was a demon, but deep down, he felt like he heard the voice before. Taking a deep breath, he knocked on the nurse's office door and waited for a response. Yes. Came recovery girl's voice. It's Connor Grayson from Class 1A. I'm here to check on izukumidoriya. Connor announced. He's still. Recovery girl began but then paused for a few seconds then spoke. Very well, you can come in. Sliding the door open, Connor was met with the sight of both the elderly school nurse and a skeletal man wearing All Might's costume. Is All Might here? I thought he was checking on Izuku. Connor asked. I can assure you young man, All Might is here. The skeletal man answered. I'm Toshinori Yagi. Steam then billowed out of the man's body before the muscular form of All Might appeared. But you know me better as All Might. He then deflated as quickly as he inflated and coughed up DMN. You're All Might. I don't understand. What just happened? Connor asked again, more confused than he already was. I can assure you, I am All Might, but this is what I look like. Toshinori answered, lifting up his costume and revealed a massive scar on his body. And this is the reason why. 6 years ago, I fought a very dangerous villain. I lost my entire stomach, and my respiratory system is damaged beyond repair. Despite all the treatments I received, nothing could fix it. Now I can only maintain my muscle form for 3 hours a day and that time is slowly decreasing every day. You mean, Toxic Chainsaw did this to you? Connor asked. No. It was, someone else. Toshinori answered. Only a few people know about the fight, Dave included, and that's another matter I want to discuss. My quirk wasn't gifted to me when I was born, it was transferred to me by my MSTR. The name of my quirk is One for All. It's a quirk that's passed down from wielder to wielder with each one enhancing before passing it on to one they deem worthy. So, Izuku's quirk is this One for All. And no one knows about it, other than a few people. Connor asked, putting hand to his chin. Yes. Recovery girl, Dave, Principal Nizu and a close friend know about this. And now you know about it. Toshinori answered. But please, you can't tell anyone, not even Melissa. If people knew about the nature of my quirk, then villains would be targeting the wielder to try and take the quirk. The temptation of this power could corrupt our society and I don't even want to imagine what would happen if it fell into the hands of the demons. I probably have no right in asking you, but please, keep this a secret. What are you kidding? You think I'd betray your trust? Connor said. Whether you're All Might or Toshinori doesn't matter to me. You saved my life 7 years ago and restored my faith in pro-heroes. It's because of you that I'm the person I am today. You inspired me to become a hero even if I don't have a quirk, and hearing that your time as a hero is coming to an end doesn't change that. I've waited years to see you again and now, I can finally and properly say thank you for saving my life. All Might sat in silence as Connor continued to speak. Giving your quirk to Izuku, you've given him hope and allowed his dream to be a reality. But that's also now made him a target. Like you said, if the demons learn about your power and that Izuku has it, he'll be in danger. The reason we came to UA was to keep the quirks of the students from falling into Olympus's hands. Quirks in the hands of demons is not a scenario anyone wants to imagine, and like you see, that Izuku has a great deal of potential as a hero. What are you saying, young man? All Might asked. What I'm saying, is that I'll not only keep your secret, but help Izuku learn to control his power. I give you my word, All Might, I won't breathe a word about this to anyone, not even the other rangers. But there will come a time when you will have to tell them about your condition. Melissa, she has a right to know about this. Connor answered. Besides, if that means I can fight alongside the man who saved my life, for however long you got left as a hero, then I'd consider it a great honor and something that I'll treasure for the rest of my life. All Might sat silently while Recovery Girl listened to the words of the Red Ranger. Hearing those words, All Might couldn't help but smile. Thank you, young man. He spoke. Hours later, night had fallen, but in a deep corner of a forested area, a purple magic circle appeared on the ground and glowed with evil as emerging from the circle was a dark knight with purple armor, black visor, and wolf heads on his shoulders, holding a massive shield which held his sword. After all these years, I have finally returned. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author CT7567 rules on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.